Imagine walking into a building every day, already has a role assigned to them, one beyond their job. Invisible the moment they put on a uniform, others are handed respect before they ever speak. In this company, the difference isn't just about salary or office size, it's about whose story is worth hearing and whose existence is meant to be ignored. Most people barely notice Daniel, the man in navy coveralls who sweeps the marble floors and empties the bins before sunrise. Comfort in thinking the world is as simple as it appears. Executives at the top, support staff at the one else somewhere in between, each knowing their place. Until one Monday, a moment cracks that illusion, and their company starts to see just how fragile their version of reality really is. It's not a news story. It won't trend on social media. What happened next will change the way they see themselves and each other forever. 6:32 a.m. The city outside is already impatient, horns and engines fighting for it. Inside the air, Daniel's soft humming can be heard, echoing off the glass. He moves with a mop gliding across the floor, his eyes trace cells every morning. This ritual is as much about erasing yesterday as it is preparing for today. Nobody ever thanks him for it. He doesn't mind, or at least that's what he tells himself. At 6:37, the automatic doors sigh. Mr. Carver, the CEO, steps into the lobby, phone pressed to his ear, lipped with what early morning problem he's already. He almost collides with Daniel, who instinctively steps aside, lowering his gaze. "Careful," Mr. Carver mutters without looking up, already moving on. The comment is so routine, it barely registers. Daniel simply silent, absorbing the moment like another piece of lint to be swept away. A few minutes later, two analysts huddle in deadlines. One of them accidentally knocks Daniel's bucket, sloshing water onto the spotless floor. "Sorry, man," the analyst mumbles, but before Daniel can respond, Daniel kneels, mops up, and watches the elevator doors close, sealing everyone else away from just like always. He's learned to disappear in plain sight. Sometimes he even enjoys it. But this morning, something is different. A sliver of a phrase escapes his lips as he works, almost without thinking. Old words from another life echo in the empty lobby. He doesn't know that someone is listening. On the mezzanine above, hidden the polished railing, a woman HR pauses mid-step, curiosity catching in her chest. Did she just hear Daniel speak Russian, or was it French? For a moment she debates whether to ask, but like everyone else she moves on, her curiosity brushed aside by the day's urgent emails. But the seed is by the time the whispers will be spreading through the building's veins, soft, hesitant, and impossible to sweep away. It's the small disturbances, jammed, the coffee machine wheezing out, a manager on the third floor, leaves a stack of legal documents in the hallway, and Daniel is thus to spot them. He bends to collect the papers, scanning the nibs and seals out of habit. Old reflexes flicker to detail and need to understand, but he folds the pile neatly and heads for the legal department, silent as always. That's when he passes Mr. Carter, the company's deep in an agitated phone call. Carter waves him away, then suddenly his eyes narrow. Daniel is speaking quietly under his breath as he walks, a string of syllables Carter doesn't recognize. First, Carter assumes it's Spanish, then a clipped, unfamiliar act twice. Was that Polish? Hungarian. He watches as Daniel vanishes down, papers in hand, blending into the walls like a shadow. Word spreads fast in a building hierarchies. By lunch, the story has already mutated. Did you know the janitor speaks like 6 languages? Someone says over microwaved soup. Heard him say something to the security guard in Portuguese. Nah, it was German. My grandmother's German, it sounds like. Daniel, pretending to goes about his day as usual. He greets Maria, the night cleaner, in Spanish. He helps him navigate the freight Italian. Each interaction is brief, careful, camouflaged, until it isn't. 2 project managers with a French client who's lost in the lobby, their conversation smooth, almost melodic. The client laughs, shakes Daniel's hand, and calls him Monsieur with genuine warmth. An intern sees this, eyes wide, and but stare Daniel directly at her and offers a shy. She hesitates, as if meeting a stranger she thought she already knew. The murmurs reach HR, then the executive floor. By the end of the day, the question is everywhere, tinged with belief, skepticism, even a hint of anxiety. Who is the janitor, really? And what else don't we know of the people we walk past every single day? In the men's room, nervously to his, though the janitor in this place. Man laughs, but the sound is hollow, unseen. Daniel washes his hands, looking at reflection a second too long. He lets a faint smile escape, sad, private, like someone who's been waiting years for someone to... He dries his hands, tightens his uniform, and steps back into the corridor. Outside, he pulses with languages he no longer needs to hide. Inside, his world is changing, word by word, room by room. A hierarchy goes to pretend it doesn't exist. A 30-year-old man shoulder to shoulder, or a janitor find himself holding the door for someone whose shoes cost more than his weekly wages. It's a box full of awkward silences, clearly averted, and small talk that dissolves the moment the doors open. But today, the sense feels loaded. By midweek, Daniel's linguistic talents have become the unofficial topic of conversation, the kind people whisper about, never quite meeting your gaze when they mention it. Some say he's a genius hiding in plain sight. Others joke that he's an undercover boss sent to spy on everyone. That nobody really knows, and that makes them uncomfortable. The cramped between the second and fourth floors, 3 marketing associates trade stories. "Did you hear what happened yesterday?" one asks, her voice pitched low. Apparently Daniel translated for that French client when no one else could. The man shrugs. Maybe he's just showing off. My cousin knows 3 languages. It's not a big deal. 6, though? Who does that? The third chimes in, nervously twisting the strap of her bag. And why is he working here if he's that smart? No one answers, but all 3 glance at the security, expecting Daniel to be, even when he isn't there. Elsewhere, in the executive break room, the mood is different. Mr. Carver stands by the coffee machine, talking quietly to Elaine. You'd think we'd know if someone on staff had a background, Elaine says, trying to keep her light. Did you see his file? Carver shakes his head. Lippy thing in reference from a cleaning agency. No education details, nothing for 27. Elaine sips her coffee. We don't pay him to care. A resume, I guess. Carver's reply is flat. Maybe we should have. On the loading, Daniel helped unload a shipment. The warehouse supervisor, a burly man named Ken, appreciates. You got a gift, man. Ken says, wiping his brow. My wife's Polish, and you just made her dziękuję. Daniel grins, but the compliment sits heavy. Languages are like tools, he says softly. Sometimes you get which ones you have until you need them. Ken laughs. But later he repeats the story room, adding details, inflating the legend. You know, that guy's probably smarter than half of us. By later, full again. Analysts, assistants, managers, all silent, the hum of speculation. Daniel steps in, eyes lowered, careful not to meet anyone's gaze. As the doors close, someone whispers, just loud enough for him to hear, I bet he's got a crazy story. You don't just wake up one day speaking 6 languages. Daniel stares at his reflection in the mirrored wall, and for a moment he almost answers, but he stops himself. Some stories are easier left untold, at least for now. But the company is awake in a new way, its boundaries shifting. Every glance, every word, every silent ride is loaded with a question no one wants to ask out loud. What if the janitor isn't who we think he is? Wednesday morning. The glass-walled conference room buzzes with anxious voices, every chair filled. It's review, a ritual of numbers, slides. Mr. Carver stands at the head of the table, flipping through the agenda, while his directors do their best to look unshakable. A sharp knock interrupts. The IT manager rushes out of breath. Sorry. Translation team is stuck in traffic. The clients from Berlin are ready. A hush falls. The German investors are their English shaky, and nobody in the room feels confident enough to handle this high-stakes exchange alone. We'll stall them, Carver whispers, flashing across his face. Somebody call HR, see if one moves. A muffled commotion in the hallway opens, and in walks Daniel, pushing his cleaning cart, head down, lost the rhythm of his checklist. Someone snaps, now's not the just come back. But the German guests are looking confused, and their leader, Klein, tries his best English. We are here for the presentation, yes? The room freezes. Without missing a beat, Daniel speaks, fluent, crisp, German. He greets the visitors, offers them water, and explains that the meeting will start shortly. He clarifies directions, jokes about the elevator, reassures them the right place. Every eye in the room lands on him. Look annoyed, others are stunned into silence. Carver manages to stammer, "You speak German?" Daniel nods, a smile flickering across his face. "Among others," he says. The investors are delighted. They relax, suddenly more open and friendly. In German, that the company's is impressively versatile. Daniel finishes his translation. Carver tries to reclaim control. "Thank you, Daniel, was it?" But the mood in the room has shifted. The power changed, subtly but undeniably. Daniel stands taller, then with a "have a good meeting," he wheels his, leaving behind a silence that hums with new questions. As the door closes, someone at the table whispers, "How does a janitor end up speaking like that?" No one has an answer. And as the meeting resumes, every special Carver can feel the ground shifting beneath their feet. Daniel pauses in the hallway, his heart pounding. This time in years, he feels seen, and he isn't a blessing or a curse. The janitor's closet is a world. Shelves of bleach and soap, the soft tick of an old clock, the din of voices through the vents. Only place Daniel can close his eyes and remember who he was before he became a shadow in someone else's story. He sits on an overturned bucket, hands rough and stained, and lets memory wash over him. Years ago, another city, another life. Warsaw in winter, grey, bracing, restless. Daniel was a janitor then. He wore a pressed suit, his tie always a little crooked. In those days, he was a translator in international rights organization, spending his days untangling urgent pleas for help, Europe, spinning words into hope. Remembers the desperate phone calls. A woman from Budapest, voice trembling as she described a son detained at the border. Meetings in cramped offices, the heated arguments in French, Russian, English. This translation could mean a life. One evening, the memory sharpens. Daniel at a crowded train station, clutching a briefcase full of documents. A man approaches, his eyes cautious, his voice, "You understand what you're carrying?" and says in German. Daniel nods. "If I get caught, they'll destroy everything. Who helped you?" It was the last time Daniel saw the city reflected on the Vistula. Within days, he was forced to flee. A raid, a list of names leaked, threats whispered over phone. Lines he thought were safe. He remembers sitting in the back of a van as it crossed the Polish border, heart racing, hands ice cold. He repeated words to himself, every language he knew, as if they could him from what came next. In America, everything was supposed to be different, safe, anonymous. He took the job he could find. No questions, no past, a mop and a bucket. Late at night, everyone else is gone. He walks the empty halls and listens to the hum of the building. Each sound is a language he's learned to hide, a story buried beneath a blue unicorn. Knock at the door, snap him back to the present. Maria, the peeks in. "Hey Daniel, you okay?" He nods, composing, "Just resting." She smiles, jetting to Spanish. "You're too smart for this job, you know." He shrugs. "It's easier times to be invisible." Maria looks at him a long moment. "Invisible people see everything. Don't forget that." As the door closes behind, Daniel stares at the mottled floor. The past passed him like a second skin. In another world, he was a voice for the voiceless. Here, he's just another name on the schedule. But the walls are thinner than realizes, and secrets like languages have a way of slipping out when least expected. The company cast louder than usual, the usual symphony of laughter, clattering trays, and microwave beeps. But underneath the noise, there's a new tension, a current running conversation, a question, who else is not who they seem? Daniel moves through the crowd, unnoticed at first, pushing his cart between tables as executives gossip at one end and the maintenance jokes at the other. But eyes follow him now, curiosity overtaking indifference. At a window table, the marketing team leans in close. "I Googled him last night," whispers Julia, her voice giddy with the thrill of curiosity. "Nothing. He's a ghost before 2017. Maybe he's in protection," jokes Ben, but his laugh is too sharp, with nervous energy. "Heard he saved the Berlin deal yesterday," another, and Carver looked furious about it. 2 tables over, Ken from the warehouse tells a different version. My cousin says Daniel once interpreted for the UN. Guy's probably got a PhD. He glances at Daniel as he passes, suddenly self-conscious. The cleaning crew, usually united in the background, is split. Maria is proud. He's one of us, you know, while others grumble that he's showing off, making It's not normal, mutters Greg, a maintenance worker. People like that don't just end up cleaning toilets. Something's off. Jelly sharpens his words. Something else beneath. The fear that maybe, right in front of him. In the executive lounge, Elaine runs her finger at Daniel's thin, frowning. How did we miss this? She asks Carver, her voice low. He's obviously overqualified. Carver's jaw tightens. He's a distraction. Don't let it go to his head. Elaine isn't so sure. Maybe we need more downstairs. Daniel's presence in the cafeteria hasn't gone unnoticed. Someone from finance offers him insisting he join them. It's awkward. He hesitates. Then, perching on the edge, every muscle tense. Questions start friendly, but invasive. How many languages do you speak, really? Why aren't you doing something else? Where did you even learn all that? Daniel answers gently, never quite meeting their eyes. Some things you pick up along the way. A manager, joking, asks, "You're not a spy, are you?" Daniel laughs, too loudly, and excuses it. As he pushes his out, conversations hush. He feels the pressure of their stares clinging to his back. Back in the supply closet, Daniel presses his forehead against the cool metal of a locker. The line between and is razor thin, and he can feel it slicing into every part of his day. He wonders if it might have been safer to stay invisible, but the mask has slipped, and there's no way to put it. Carver had never really noticed Daniel before, at least not anything more than background. But now, every time he passes the janitor in the hallway, he feels a flicker of irritation. And something else, something to intrigue. Carver's morning routine begins to change. Instead of his usual from the executive suite to his office, he finds himself lingering near the maintenance corridors, eyes scanning for Daniel. Each time they cross paths, Carver's gaze lingers a moment too long, looking for evidence of what he isn't sure. Tries to keep it casual. He asks Daniel to help with small things, translating a left by an international client, reading a shipping label written in Cyrillic. Daniel obliges, his answers always precise, never giving more than necessary. One afternoon, Carver watches as Daniel gently assists an elderly guest who speaks only Russian. The gratitude in the guest's voice is and for a moment, Carver feels a strange envy, the kind of respect that isn't bought authority. Back in his office, Carver pores over Daniel's personnel file. It's almost no college, no references beyond the cleaning agency, no digital footprint at all before his in the States. It's as if Daniel just appeared out of thin air. That night, Carver calls in a favor from an old contact firm. Just background, he says, sound casual. I want to know who we're really working with. As days pass, Daniel senses the shift. Carver's questions become sharper, less friendly. He calls Daniel into to chat, asking about his family, his origins, his interests. Daniel answers with a steady calm, but his heart pounds. He can see the curiosity in Carver's eyes, but also a new kind of threat, a hunger for control, for certainty. One evening, as Daniel is cleaning near the executive floor, Carver approaches with 2 members of the board. He introduces Daniel, highlighting his language skills as novelty. The board members laugh politely. Daniel feels exposed, like a magician forced to reveal his tricks. After they leave, Elaine from HR finds Daniel in the stage. He hesitates before speaking. They're curious, you know, she says gently. People always are when someone does the box they built for you. Daniel nods, expression guarded. I've spent most of my life outside their boxes. Elaine, a sympathetic smile. Just watch your back. This place doesn't like surprise. As Daniel descends the stairs, he can feel Carver's gaze pressing into his shoulders, a weight that grows heavier with every step. The company is watching him now, and the illusion of anonymity is slipping away faster than he can sweep it up. The next week, the air inside the building grows thick with expectation. Daniel notices it everywhere, how conversations stop when he walks by, how people measure how even the smallest quests now come with an edge. Carver's strategy becomes obvious, and Daniel's talent into a tool for the company, or catch him out of his depth. First, there's the sudden for language audits. Daniel is asked to listen in on international calls, translate documents, even sit in on meetings from countries he's barely heard of. it politely. Daniel, could you join us for a... Would you mind reviewing this? But the contests, deliberately obscure phrases, dialects most Americans wouldn't recognize, technical jargon meant to trip him up. Sometimes Carver invites to meetings at the last minute, giving him no time to prepare. Every success is every tiny hesitation with a thin smile. He's not as fluent as he says, whispers after hesitates on a rare dialect. Maybe he's just memorized a few phrases, another speculates. Yet each time Daniel proves himself. His translations are precise, his tone, his ability to switch languages effortless. He never brags, never embellishes, but each display only fuels city and resentment. Behind the scenes, Jane from HR digging too, but motive. She interviews colleagues from the cleaning agency, searching for a missing piece, a hint of scandal or mistake, but finds only vague references and glowing reviews. Meanwhile, who's frustrated. The background check comes back with little more than what they already know. How does someone just appear like this? He mutters to Elaine in a rare moment of honesty. To add, Carver suggests Daniel present at the upcoming diversity seminar. It'll show the board we value inclusion, he announces, masking the order compliment. Daniel tries to refuse. I'm not comfortable speaking publicly, but Carver insists. You're the perfect example of why wouldn't you want to inspire others? The boardroom fills. Executives, managers, and a handful of curious staff sit waiting, arms folded. Daniel stands at the podium, singles his hands. The spotlight is blinding. He speaks, sharing a short story about a border crossing, the comfort of hearing your own language in a strange place. He doesn't mention details. He never mentions the fear, the running, long nights awake. Instead, he talks about language as a bridge, isolate when used as a wall. As he finishes, someone asks, "But why are you here? Why stay a janitor if you're so talented?" For a second, the room is silent. Daniel meeting Carver's eyes directly. He says simply, sometimes you have to let go of who you were just to survive who you are now. There's a discomfort, a truth too raw, too honest for a seminar. The applause is polite, but Carver forces a smile, but his disappointment is visible. Later, in the elevator, a junior employee quietly thanks Daniel. What you said, my parents came here with nothing too. I never thought anyone noticed. Daniel nods, emotion. The tests and traps but something is shifting now. Not just watching. And Carver, watching Daniel's reflection at doors, knows this is no longer a story he can control. Friday night. The annual company party transforms the lobby into a kaleidoscope of laughter, clinking glasses, and carefully curated charm. One evening, the walls between departments feel thinner, at least on the surface. Underneath, watching, measuring, competing. Daniel is uneasy the moment he arrives. He's not ready to attend, but Carver's invitation had felt more order than a request. Chance to connect, Carver had said, his tone making clear that absence would be noticed. Daniel trades his but he still feels out of place. He hovers near the refreshment, clutching a glass of water, eyes scanning for quiet exit. But escape is impossible. Tonight he is the main event. Orbit around him, curiosity and skepticism tangled in every question. Show us a party trick, Daniel. Say something in Chinese. What's the weirdest language you know? Come on. Impress us. Talk about something only you'd understand. He obliges with a polite out greetings and phrases in half a dozen tongues. Some clap, others smirk. The novelty of it all hangs in the air, making Daniel feel more like a circus act than us. A few drinks in, slaps Daniel on the back. Seriously, man, you could be anywhere. Why here? Why now? Before Daniel appears, glass. Let's toast to unexpected talents, he declares, the crowd turning to look at Daniel as if the words sting. Talent, not asset, not Maria watches the scene, worry creasing her brow. She catches Daniel's eye and gives a supportive nod, a small end of comfort in a sea of scrutiny. The party blurs. Music, small talk, awkward laughter. Daniel moves through it all, careful not to let his discomfort show. But as the night wears on, his guard slips. A senior executive, "Tell me, Daniel, what did you really do before all this? We know you're hiding something." He tries to deflect, but the man presses, dropping to a near whisper. "Men like you don't just wash up here for no reason." Daniel forces a smile. "Sometimes life you places you never expected. The executive snorts, unsatisfied. Or maybe you're just something. But the words linger, echo the space between who he was and who he's been forced to become. As midnight, he slips, leaning against the cold stone of the building. The sounds of celebration drift out behind, muffled and distant. He lets out a breath, watching Earl into the darkness, feeling the weight of every story he'll never. Above floors, the light in Carver's office burns late. The party has revealed more than any intended, and Daniel knows he can never go fully unseen again. Saturday morning arrives with the company being almost absence of voices. Daniel slips, hoping for you. Last night's party still lingers, empty glasses on windowsills, glitter ground into the carpet, the stale scent of perfume and ambition. He sweeps through. The halls grateful for the silence. But even this quiet is dangerous. He can hear things he shouldn't. On the 5th floor, Daniel pauses room. Inside, 2 board members and Mr. Carver speak in urgent tones. They don't see him through glass. Their voices the hallway. Too careless. No one is listening. He's a liability, says one board member, her voice. We know who he is or what he wants. And the staff is getting distracted. Carver sighed, the weariness in his voice. I'm aware. Touch him. His work is flawless. Open ourselves to a lawsuit. The second board member leans in, voice real. We need leverage. There must be something in his past. No one just appears out of nowhere. There's a pause. Then the first board member speaks again, softer. You know what's at stake if any of our numbers get out. If even one word of those layoffs leaks early. Carver cuts her off. That's why we keep him close, until we know for sure. We smile, we use his talents, and we watch closely. A cold wave washes over Daniel. He's not an asset to them. He's aliened. He steps back, almost his own mop, and quickly moves down the hall. But the echo in his mind, more dangerous than any rumor. Layoffs. Leverage, numbers that get out. Later that afternoon, Daniel's cleaning on the executive floor when he stumbles on an unlocked laptop. Someone in line out. It blinks on the screen. Names, departments, red marks beside employees. Layoffs scheduled. Months before anyone's supposed to know. Daniel's breath catches. He scrolls down, seeing Maria's name, Ken's. His mortgages, dreams. There'll be email. Their lives erased by a decision made behind closed doors. He hears footsteps. Instinct kicks in. He closes the file, logs out, and slips away. But the knowledge burns inside him. He's the invisible man with the company's future in his hands. As the sun sets, Daniel sits in the janitor's closet, wrestling with the truth. If he says nothing, dozens will suffer. If he speaks, he risks everything, his safety, his freedom, his fragile new life. Outside, the building glows with artificial light, oblivious to the storm gathering within its walls. Daniel wonders if his silence hid him or simply made him complicit. The next week feels like living underwater, everything muffled, slowed, distorted by the weight of what Daniel knows. He moves through the corridors with his usual quiet efficiency, but his mind races. Every friendly greeting, every nervous glance, every conversation behind closed doors takes on new meaning. He watches Maria laugh with a co-worker, unaware that her name is that could erase her tomorrow. He sees the warehouse loading boxes, back aching, smiling through exhaustion. He thinks about all the people who trust this place to be steady, fair, a home. The burden gnaws at him. He's kept secrets before, secrets that could save or destroy, but never for so long, and never with so much at stake. This time, the choice isn't about survival, it's about justice. Late one night, Daniel sits at a library computer composing an anonymous email. He drafts, erases, rewrites, words tumbling out in a storm of languages, as if hoping one of them will feel safe enough to send. He attaches the spreadsheet he found, stripping all trace of his identity, and sends it to a journalist, exposing his heart pounds. He clicks send, no going back. Chaos erupts. The story spreads faster than social media, news out, frantic calls from board members. Employees gather in clumps, reading the article aloud, scrolling through lists of names, their own futures in column black. Maria finds Daniel cleaning a stairwell, her face pale. Did you see the news? Half the staff, myself included, going to fire us without warning. Daniel for the right words. He wants to confess, to say he'd for all of them. Before he can speak, Carver's voice thunds the hallway. All staff to the main. Now, the company assembles. Tension thick enough. to choke. Carver stands at the front, papers hand security. He tries to reassure the crowd, planned necessary changes, but his words are drowned out anger, fear, and disbelief. Suddenly an IT manager stands up. "Who leaked the file?" she demands. "Who would do this to the company?" Carver's eyes sweep the room, searching for a scapegoat. Daniel stands at the back, invisible as ever. His silence is defiance. Investigators swarm the building. Computers escape, emails traced, cameras checked, rumors swirl, suspects everyone else. A few quietly thank Daniel, not knowing why, only that someone stood up mattered most. By eve, layoffs are postponed. The board is thrown into panic. Carver holds up in his blinds drawn, doors locked. First time, the hierarchy that held the company together and the invisible become visible, if only for a moment. Daniel stands alone in a stairwell, watching the set bleed through frosted glass. He's never felt exposed or more alive. Within hours, the company is no longer an oiled machine. It's a hive in panic, ever buzzing with accusation, disbelief. People who never spoke to each other before are now huddled in corners, sharing rumors, comparing stories, forming alliances in whispered tones. Maria and Ken are among demanding answers. Why were we on the list? Who decided it would just be Elaine tries to calm them. Her own voice is thin. She's seen the sps too. Know her own job and decisions are under scrutiny now. Managers lock their doors. Executives pull rank middle management, blaming the cleaning agency, blaming any themselves. That once resources now hoard information. The building feels colder, the air more room. Fully account stands up and reads a voice trembling but determined. Numbers. We deserve to know what's happening to us. The speech is short. Something. Anger, hope. Invisible workers are being heard, their voices going off glass and steel. Carver calls an emergency board meeting. His confidence is cracked, the mask slipping. "This is a disaster," he growls. "We need to control the narrative before we lose everything." A board member suggests finding a scapegoat to punish, but others resist. The truth has reached too many ears. If they try to make an example of anyone, lawsuits, protests, even a strike. Meanwhile, the cleaning crew is united. First time, Maria, once shy, becomes a spokesperson staff, rallying her colleagues to demand transparency. Ken uses his warehouse connect to organize a meeting, hours, where employees share their stories and fears. Daniel's quietly staying in the back, but his presence gives the group a sense of courage. Rumors swirl that the company's biggest pulled out, worried ethical risks. In leaks a video of the emergency meeting, Carver's frustration, the board's panic, the arguments that reveal just anyone at the top and the lives of the people who keep the company running. Allies form, least expected. Lane from HR meets, offering inside information. "We have rights," he whispers, "and if enough of us stand together, they can't get rid of us all." Carver, isolated, orders an investigation just for the leak. Anyone who challenges the status quo. But the harder he pushes, the more the walls in. Is no longer absolute. As the week ends, Daniel finds himself surrounded by people who once ignored him, now looking to him for reassurance, for leadership. He's not sure he never asked for it. But the lines between janitor, rebel, and symbol have blurred beyond recognition. In a final act of Daniel sends to the labor board proof of the company's practices. As he steps into the night, the building behind him feels both smaller and more dangerous than ever. Change is coming, and this time, it's unstoppable. The investigation into the leak stalls. Case of who's no suspicious logins. Paranoia deepens. Everyone is on edge. Every ally shall betray her. And still, the spotlight keeps drifting back to Daniel. Elaine instincts begin searching deeper, past public records, past the cleaning agency, digging into archived databases from overseas. She finds fragments, a name that is in its organizations, a photograph in an old news article from Eastern Europe, faces blurred, details scarce, and she finds Daniel alone in the stairwell, looking out over the city. "I know who you are," she says quietly, holding out a printout. "Or at least, who you were." Daniel barely glances at the page, but his shoulders tense. The old fear flickers across his face, then settles into resignation. "Why did you come here?" Elaine asks. Her voice is gentle, but her curiosity is real. "Why hide? Why now?" Daniel sighs. "Once I believed I could help people by being seen, But when that made me and everyone I cared, I learned how to disappear. I thought if I started over, maybe I'd be safe. Maybe everyone around me would be safe too. Elaine listens, piecing together what the official files never told, that Daniel once translated for dissidents, protected whistleblowers, everything to smuggle information out of dangerous regimes, that the raid which drove him left scars no resume could explain. In that moment, the company's game of status, power, and blame shrinks significance. Daniel is not just the leak, not just the person who speaks sieges. He is a survivor who has spent years hiding in plain sight. His gifts, both a shield and a burden. Downstairs, the rumors have reached fever pitch. Some employees believe Daniel is a government agent. Others think he's a criminal in disguise. The truth is, stranger, simpler. He's a man who chose invisibility over survival over heroism. The final confirmation comes late that night. The company's IT team hacks into an encrypted overseas. There they find the last puzzle piece, Daniel's real name, his old credentials, and a record of humanitarian awards received under threat of death. Word leaks out. By morning, Daniel's identity is no longer a secret. The company reels, not because they misjudged him, but because the narrative has changed. The man they to control, to scapegoat, to exploit, is the very kind of man they should have protected. Carver's face goes white as he reads the news. The board is divided. Scandal. Others awed by the story's gravity. Maria, Ken, Elaine, and dozens of others begin to see Daniel not just as a symbol, but as a human being who risked everything for justice, even erasing himself. And Daniel, exhausted but unmasked, feels both relief and his life can never go back to what it was. But for the first time, he's not running alone. The company is in free fall. Employees gather in the halls, torn between outrage and awe as Daniel's true story circulates. News crews inside the building. The boardroom becomes a war zone. Directors divided over whether to apologize, mitigate, or simply survive the scandal. But Carver is consumed by personal sense of betrayal. Feared, battered at once. He calls Daniel to his office, the invitation curt and impossible to refuse. Daniel enters. The blinds are drawn, the light too bright. Carver sits behind his desk, shoulders rigid, knuckles against polished wood. "You should have told me," voice trembling with anger and something dangerously close to respect. "You had no right to put this company at risk." Daniel doesn't flinch. "People aren't just numbers, Mr. Carver. Not here, not anywhere. You can't build trust on fear and lies." Carver's jaw worked. "You broke every rule. You put every spotlight. For what? To become kind of martyr." Daniel's eyes are steady. "Not a martyr. Time will suffer while others profit from it." There's a pause, heavy, loaded with everything that can't be said of lawyers or cameras. Carver slumps, the fight bleeding out. "This was supposed to be a sanctuary. People like," he says, voice almost pleading, "monsters." Daniel shakes his. "A sanctuary built on secrets will always become a prison." Silence. Carver stands, circles the desk. There's no power left in the room. Just two men, both exhausted, both carrying burdens that can't be measured in quarterly reports. "What do you want?" Carver asks. Daniel thinks of Maria, Ken, Elaine, the people whose names almost vanished from a spreadsheet. He thinks of his own past, what he lost, what he still fears. "Change," he says, "not just for me, for everyone." Carver hesitates, then nods. "If I step down, will it end? Will the company survive?" Daniel shrugs. "I'm not here for revenge, so people don't have to hide anymore." A long moment passes. Carver dismisses a public apology, review of all layoffs, and steps toward a new culture, if the staff will stay. Daniel leaves the office, the door swinging, shut behind him. He feels nothing like victory, only a grief for every story like his. He walks through the halls, meeting the eyes of people who once saw right through him. Some nod, some smile, some just look away. The company isn't healed, but foot in the open, and the light is coming in. Months pass. The building settles into slower, more cautious, and yet in small ways, more honest. The scandal changes everything and nothing at once. Carver resigns quietly, his farewell email unread by most, his name already fading from the walls. CEO is brought in, someone younger, someone who promises to lift. The layoffs are halted, investigations unfold. The company releases a statement, more apology than explanation, while Daniel's story drifts its news cycles, already turning to myth. But inside, real changes take root. Maria is promoted to her voice, entering in meetings where she once was invisible. Ken moves to a new shift, working fewer hours, earning more. Elaine starts a diversity task force, this time inviting staff from every department to rewrite the rules. People begin greeting each other by name in the halls. Coffee breaks are less tense. As fade, replace shy attempts at real conversation. No one forgets what happened, but the silent one apart, broken, faced by the awkward necessity of seeing each other for who they are. Daniel. For weeks, he vanishes, using vacation days no one realized he'd saved up. Some assume he's moved on, left for another city, another name, another life. But grey Tuesday, as the morning crowd files in, he's there, sweeping the lobby, humming softly, just as before. Maria catches his eye and smiles, and gives him a nod, and Elaine brings him a coffee, black, with just a little sugar. There's no unfair, no more whispers or stares. Daniel is still the janitor, still quietly brilliant, still the man with stories no one else can tell. But the building feels lighter, the people inside less sure of the roles they used to play. Daniel sits outside, watching the city shift and stir. He listens to the voices around him, English, Spanish, Polish, French. He no longer tries to hide the words inside his head. He is not defined by his job, his past, or the languages he speaks. He is finally just a man among others, seen, imperfect and free. Inside the building, someone new asks, "What's his story?" Maria, a small proud smile on her lips. "He's just Daniel, but you should get to know him." The company moves forward, healing, changed, never simple, but the walls are thinner and the light keeps finding a way in.